September 17th, 2024. Good day, everybody. I'm Connor with Honor. This is your Santa Clarita real estate update. In the last 7 days, we've seen a lot of activity. We've watched as real estate listings are taking a little bit longer to sell. In addition, I've been reporting about the Fed funds rate meeting. That's going to be today and tomorrow. So we'll find out if, in fact, that's going to cause an overall reduction in the mortgage rate, which I believe it will. That's probably going to spear off somewhat of a refinance market. I did do a blog post yesterday on refinancing. Just be wary what you're paying, and also make sure a refinance makes sense. If you're moving in the next year and you're going to pay a few $1,000s to have your house refinanced to a lower interest rate, at the end it might not make sense because you're going to be out of here anyway. It's just going to depend, so make sure you talk to your trusted advisor. Any questions you have on the lending front, when you do talk to your lender, I'm a realtor, when you talk to your lender, maybe you can patch in your real estate agent as well, just to have them watch over that process, as I know lenders that do the same when they refer people to real estate agents. So it's not bad to have a second set of eyes on whatever process you're going to go under. If you're going to be buying a house, signing a buyer-broker agreement, or maybe tying up with a lender and having a refinance done, or even suggesting or using the actual agent's lender that they know and they trust. That's also a good idea to kind of keep every loop together just to best protect yourself. Now, as far as the last 7 days, 12 coming soon listings, 82 new listings have hit the market, 77 price changes. These are mostly reductions. These are sellers that maybe were overzealous in the beginning when they listed their properties for sale. Another reason why you need to be wary of the syndication websites out there when it comes to pricing real estate, because a lot of them have the algorithm dialed up to elicit some sort of a response depending on who they believe you are. If you're the owner of the house, the price might be a little different. If you're a buyer for a potential house, the price might show up a little bit differently. So it's really important to look at the actual real estate data when it comes to pricing your residence, so you don't get caught up and have to do several price reductions to bring it to a point where buyers are willing to move forward in making offers. Incredibly important advice. For the buyers out there that are considering purchasing, they talk about marry the house, not the interest rate. I get that, but there are costs involved to doing a refinance as well. A couple different sources. The mortgage holder that you're originally going to have assigned owning your mortgage, the one you're writing the check to every month, that's definitely an option for a refi. And of course, if you like the lender that you used to purchase the residence via the first loan, that particular lender, then maybe you can ask them, hey, can you help me out with a refi? What does that look like? And then get the numbers written down in an email or on a piece of paper so you understand exactly what you're going to be paying. Now, through this particular market, we currently have 537 active units on the market for sale. As you know, I do this every day. So that number has gone up from the fours, early fours and even high threes and even mid threes closer to the beginning of this year. So we do have additional inventory. However, that has slowed home sales at all. The thing that's holding back sellers from putting their properties on the market is that ultra low interest rate. Now there's information about loans that can actually be assumed by a buyer. So if you're a seller that has a VA or an FHA loan, and certain types of conventional loans, depending on who owns the paper, they might be willing to allow that loan to transfer to a new buyer. Now, that's going to give that new buyer a much lower interest rate than they would get in this market, especially if you were in the twos or threes. But watch out for these promises of being able to transfer a rate by an agent, by a lender, by whomever. Just make sure it's actually feasible for you and it's going to make sense. Another question that I would have is, how's that money going to come back to me as far as the difference? Because if I have a 2 and 3% interest rate on my house, I probably have multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity because of the time I bought and where the market is today versus back then. We're much higher today. So where's that money going to come in? And if I'm a buyer, if I'm going to be paying that extra to purchase the house or whatever that makes up fair market value, well, how am I going to get a loan for that, and what's that going to cost? That might be something, because those particular, that company, the one that's going to loan you the money, they're going to be in a secondary position, and that primary loan is going to be first, which, as long as there's enough equity to take care of two, in the event you default, they're happy. But in some cases, maybe those numbers won't make sense. Thereby, you'll be paying higher interest because of a more risky loan for that second one, and you might have washed out whatever advantage you're going to get by doing this assumable home and assuming that loan that current home has. Wow, that was hard to get out. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. That's your current real estate update here in Santa Clarita Valley. We're watching. The Fed's going to be meeting today and tomorrow. I'll let you know tomorrow and the next day when this trickles down what's going to happen. This is the Fed meeting. Just FYI, it is not mortgage rate. They're talking about the Fed funds rate. This is the rate, and this is what everybody talks about. Mortgage rates are impacted by that, and also the 10-year bond, and also the economy. So you have unemployment, inflation. Those also affect interest rates. If you notice lately, interest rates have been trickling down slightly, and the Fed didn't even meet. Last time I believe they met was July. Now they're meeting in September. July, they didn't even adjust the Fed funds rate. That's the rate at the bank, which the banks get to trade money. So that's that rate. It does impact the mortgage interest rate, but there are other things that impact that as well. Let's see what happens over the next few days. There's conjecture that these rates are going to come down somewhere in the sixes, maybe high fives. Fours were talked about by some of the fancy people out there on the World Wide Web when they're discussing real estate and magically what's going to happen if the rates get in the fours. Well, if it does, it's going to kick this market off into a place it hasn't been for a few years, where you're going to have multiple offers on every single property, which we still see that from time to time. But the frequency with which that happens now is nowhere near where it was 3 or 4 years ago. If the market does go to fours, we're probably going to see that response from buyers where people are going to really start to climb over each other to try to get into it. Very important to have a solid advisor. And then you're going to be, as a buyer, signing a buyer-broker agreement. One of the things that I might suggest is make sure that you're the only one competing with this particular agent for this particular house. If this agent has multiple buyers for the same residence, that's not going to really do you any good at all. So maybe, and I don't there's a form for this. There is a form that talks about agency and who's representing who. There's also another form. There might be other buyers interested on a particular residence. This agent could be representing them also. Whatever is issued to you in contract, if you don't want to accept it, you don't have to. That might be one of those things I would consider in this market, because now you could be responsible for paying the agent that represents you their commission. I would probably want that agent to be extra loyal to me, and if they have other buyers for a residence, I'm sorry, that's of no interest. I want to be their only buyer for this particular residence, if that makes sense. I hope everybody's well. Try to factor that in. I'm sure I'll get some hate on that. Everybody have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you next time. I'm Connor McIver. Connor with Honor, over and out.